United Nations chemical weapons investigators leave their Damascus hotel to inspect the site of last week's alleged attack. But a UN spokesperson said unidentified snipers deliberately shot at the first vehicle to approach the area. This photograph was taken by an activist and reportedly shows the 4x4 that was targeted, a bullet hole in the vehicle's windshield. No one was injured, but the team was forced to return back to the Syrian army checkpoint. It took 4 days of negotiations before the Syrian government allowed the chemical weapons team access. Hundreds of men, women and children were killed on Wednesday night in the Damascus suburb of eastern Ghouta. The Assad government has repeatedly denied all responsibility, but senior US, British and French officials, among others, say they have little doubt over who carried out the attack.
From accounts that we and some of our partners around the world have, what is certain is that this massacre originates from Bashar al-Assad's regime. There has to be a proportionate reaction, act with determination and calm, and that is what will be decided in the coming days.
Britain's Foreign Secretary says diplomatic pressure hasn't worked. He suggested that a military response to the alleged attack is possible without, quote, complete unity at the United Nations Security Council.
We cannot, in the 21st century, allow the idea that chemical weapons can be used with impunity, that people can be killed in this way and that there are no consequences for it.
Syria's biggest ally, Russia, says there is evidence rebels are to blame. The Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, says military intervention in Syria without a UN mandate would be a grave violation of international law.
We've had this movement in Iraq and Libya, and not a single case of military interference or intervention resulted in things improving or bringing stabilization. The region is destabilized in an unprecedented way, so everyone should act with utmost responsibility and work together as was agreed by leaders during the G8 summit in June this year.
In an interview with a Russian newspaper, the Syrian leader said, "The comments made by politicians in the West and other countries are an insult to common sense. It is nonsense." The Obama administration says it wants proof chemical weapons were used and proof of who used them, but military options are being considered and supported by some members of the US Congress.
You can destroy the runways, Assad's runways, you could destroy his munitions, and you could destroy his fuel. There are lots and lots of things we could do. We could even destroy the Syrian Air Force.
It can't be a unilateral American approach. It has to have support internationally, but not just politically, but militarily.
It's a view shared by some members of the US military establishment.
I think the most important thing is to make sure that whatever you do militarily has some political purpose to it and moves us toward a resolution of the situation. So there's no point in just firing a weapon, dropping a bomb to drop a bomb.
The Syrian government and the rebels have promised a ceasefire in the area of the alleged chemical attack, so the UN inspectors can gather evidence. Opposition activists are blaming pro-Assad gunmen for the sniper attack on the UN vehicle. The Syrian government is blaming what it describes as terrorists. The UN team has now managed to get into the area. This video, filmed by an activist, shows them gathering evidence and speaking to witnesses. Whatever they find, the calls for intervention from Western governments and their allies are getting louder. Charles Stratford, Al Jazeera.